Alright, thanks for tuning in. In today's video, we're going to be replacing the radiator in this Dodge Ram. It's a 2004 1500 with the 5.7 Hemi. Should be pretty similar for the years around that and these third gen Dodge Rams. I've got the new part here ready to go, and it should be a fairly easy part to replace. So we're a little pinched for room in this garage. I'm just going to back the truck out a little bit and we'll get to work. Just to show kind of what my symptoms were, you can see this plastic side of the radiator. It's kind of got a sheen to it. That's where the coolant is dripping out of. Even just from starting the truck to back it out a couple feet, you can see there's a little bit of moisture on there. And then once the system's hot and pressurized, a lot more coolant was dripping out right here. First step's obviously going to be to drain the coolant, so I have a bucket placed underneath. Really shouldn't be too much in there, but we'll catch it just in case. While that coolant finishes dripping, we're going to go ahead and remove the reservoir. There are two different style reservoirs, so yours might look a little bit different. The pump for the washer fluid and the sensor levels are down in here. We're going to have to undo the harnesses that are just clipped in. Instead of the electrical harnesses coming out nicely, the whole pumps came out of the reservoir, so we made a little bit of a mess, but it'll clean up. We'll get this bolt off the top, and then it should unclip from the bottom, from the grooves that it sits in, and we'll be able to get this out of the way. My K&N cold air filter box is in the way, so we'll have to scoot that out of the way first before this can be pulled out. Ta-da! This shroud's going to have one bolt below the filler neck and then one more bolt below this upper radiator hose. That'll release it, but we'll also have to get the fan out of the way so that we have the room to remove it. Really thought I was recording for this, but I wasn't. I have the tools to hold the pulley and to get the fan off. This just went in there, kind of held it against the direction that it was going to move. This side on the fan, a couple whacks with a hammer, and it got it loose. So there you go, +1 for the right tools. And here's the fan out. It just came right out the top once it was loose. And before I get to the bolt that's below this hose that's holding the shroud on, I'm going to go ahead and actually pop this hose out of the way. Wiggle that out and just set it aside. Now I can get to the bolt. Drop my washer. This pops in from the bottom. On the passenger side, there's a bolt on this bracket. I don't know which one. I think the power steering cooler's on the top and the oil cooler's on the bottom. Might have that reversed. But that bolt needs to come out. Can't see it from the front side. But there's two more down in the bottom. We'll access from the engine bay. Those will be loose. Obviously, they're just kind of clipped in here. And the final thing is there's still the lower radiator hose on the back side. Here's the reverse angle of the two bolts I was mentioning. The other one's kind of blending in with the frame rail. And then the lower radiator hose. Sorry, it's a bit dark. I should have everything free on these. They're just going to remain in the truck as we pull the radiator out. But we'll kind of wiggle them. Feels free. They're away from the radiator. Go ahead and pull that out the top now. Handy tool holder right here on the front of the truck. This top cooler is just clipped in on this passenger hand side, so I'm going to have to just pry it out of the clips real quick. There it goes. There we go. Prepped the new radiator. There were a few clips to put in. These came with my radiator. Obviously I gotta remove these yellow caps everywhere. And then the mounting bushings I'm reusing, and they just slide into place on either side. Putting the radiator back in, and then it will just be connecting everything that we unconnected so far. Gonna get the upper bolts in place just to kind of hold everything in, and then come back and tighten down the coolers. Okay, that bolt's threaded all the way through. Now we can tighten it down. There we go, now we just gotta tighten it down. Almost there. So there's those rusty brackets. They just kind of cup the bottom of the radiator and the bolt goes through, and we'll tighten down both sides. There's one here and one on the far passenger side. That gets the cooler down. We gotta still tighten this bolt down here. The lines are already clipped in on that far side, so we're almost there. I guess I could have knocked some of these bugs out while I was in there. And there we have it. New radiator is installed and the coolant is bled. One of these bottles was already kind of half empty, but it took 2 full bottles and the remaining. So yeah, not too much to say there. Took me probably a little over 2 hours, probably a little bit more with cleanup and prep. I think if a mechanic was to do this, they could probably get it done in an hour. But it's a pretty simple job. I would say that anybody with the right tools could tackle this. And then, you know, doing it yourself, you're going to save a couple $100 in the labor costs that a mechanic would charge you. So hopefully this helps somebody out there feel more confident in tackling this job themselves. If there's any questions, please leave them in the comments. And thanks for watching.